Welcome to the Chris O Show on the Bay 88.7, or you could be listening on MuskokaUnlimited.com. Either way, get ready and enjoy the show.
Now, today I have a very special guest, a person I've been trying to get on the show for what feels like forever. And this is Kandis O. Yes, she is my partner in life and the amazing mother of my children. Candice, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
The reason Candice is here is because she's going to talk about what she's been doing for over 15 years in the community. And she is a personal support worker, or also known as a PSW, if you've ever heard the term PSW. So, Candice, let's get right into this because I know you tell me I'm too wordy all the time. So, we're going to get right into this and we're going to ask you um, what is it that a personal support worker or a PSW does?
I guess essentially what we do is we just help people with their daily activities of living, whether that is getting washed, getting dressed, helping them with food, helping them with medication, helping with range of motion exercises. There's a socialization, there's an emotional, um, I always say that there is that the hat of a PSW can be many different things all at the very same time.
And that's the cool part about what you do is you have all these different ways that you help your clients and the people you care for. So in all those ways, in all these things that you do, and all these many people you've helped over the years, what are the best parts about your job? What are the best parts about being a personal support worker?
Well, the day is never boring. You never know what you're going to walk into. Sometimes you are helping people with MS, then there's another client that has Alzheimer's and dementia. There's clients that need different things at different times, and the busyness of it all. Usually, your time goes by pretty quickly. And before you know it, you've accomplished all of your tasks and you're on to the next client and on to the next client. And it's very rewarding. It's very gratifying being able to help people with some of their most intimate, most private matters.
Awesome. And some of the stuff that you get to do, you know that they're really grateful for, and you know that the families are grateful that you're there. Now, with all that, with all the good stuff, there's also challenges. There's like with any job. So, what are some of the main challenges that you face, either emotionally or physically or both, while taking care of people?
Well, there's the whole death and dying part of my job where you sort of have to be able to um, keep your own feelings in check. And you are helping people that are usually at the end stages of some sort of disease or sickness. So you do have to have a bit of a strong heart to be able to endure what's eventually going to happen, which is you get close to somebody, you help them with their most personal business, and then they will die. So you do have to keep that in mind. The physicality part of the job, anybody that knows me knows that I like my massages and my chiropractic treatments, and I've been doing some osteopath appointments, and so trying to keep my body healthy so that I can keep doing this job for another 15 years.
Well, that's awesome, and yeah, and I can see how it would be emotional. Like you can't do your job without getting close to people, without learning about their families, learning about their likes, their dislikes, everything about them. So yeah, that must be the super like the toughest part. And I know for a fact from when you've come home a few times, a little bit like broken up because it's more than just a job to you. It's more than just like clients to you. They're like I feel like you feel like you're caring for family or something sometimes.
Oh, I think that's part of what I like most about my job is that, I do consider them either a sister or a brother, a grandma or a grandpa. I try and put myself in the family shoes and say, how to best care for my loved ones. And I think that that's what's, differentiates or separates you from being a good PSW to maybe a great or even an awesome PSW is the level of care that you do put in and the attention to detail and the general, caring and compassion that you put into the time that you have individually with the people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. And I know you actually do care a lot. And I've had tons of good reviews, like I've said before, to many times where people who know me and know you because you cared for their loved ones come and tell me how wonderful Candace is and how amazing she is and how lucky I am she's in my life. So there's little props to you in our show because you don't like when I do that, but I'm still doing it. Um, so this is a good way to transition into the next topic, which is you've been a personal support worker for a long time, like we said before, over 15 years. What is your favorite thing to work on? Like, what is your favorite scope of practice to do in your job?
Well, I definitely have a love for and a passion for Alzheimer's and dementia care. About 5 years ago, I started seeing the increased cases of Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's not just in 80 and 90-year-olds, they're getting younger and younger. And I wanted to learn more about the disease. And in reading and um, looking online and trying to take as many courses, extra credits, in trying to make myself a better PSW so that I know how to care for people who have Alzheimer's and dementia. It led me to this passion that I really am capable of um, doing a really great job in caring for people who have Alzheimer's and dementia. I'm able to get the tasks done and I'm able to do it without anger and frustration. It's really gratifying and rewarding when, you know, you talk to family members and they say, "Oh, I haven't been able to do this or I haven't been able to do that." But then I'm able to come in with the knowledge and the tools that I have in my toolkit to be able to help the people with whatever it is that they needed help with. Usually, personal care tends to fall behind. And so it's super rewarding and gratifying that I've come in. I've able to get clean clothes on them. I've able to get their teeth brushed and I can move on to the next client and know that I did a really good job and nobody got hurt and there was no
Oh
anger
my
and
God.
the family members are really grateful because they'll say, "Man, I've been trying to do this for how long?"
Mhm. Now, one thing we've talked about is, and I like you brought that up with the no anger, right? You're not getting angry, you're not getting frustrated, you stay calm and level. At times, the people you're caring for, and I'm sure the caregivers have to see this all the time. They might get frustrated, like
For
because
sure.
we know that Alzheimer's and dementia is a cognitive degenerative disease, right? So in that terms, how do you manage to just stay level? Like, what do you tell yourself, and maybe give some advice to caregivers who are dealing with that and maybe need some little help on how to just stay level when someone's got a frustrating moment going on?
Well, I think one of the things that I've learned is just don't argue with people who have Alzheimer's and dementia. It's just easier to agree. Whether they're right or wrong, it's completely irrelevant to the situation. I think back to a client that I cared for years ago who had Lewy body dementia, and it was just easier for me to sweep the crabs out of his bed and out of the bedroom so that he could lay down and have a nap
Mhm.
rather than argue with him and try and make him understand that there aren't any crabs anywhere. It was just easier for me to sweep them into the garbage. That was his hallucination at that time.
Yeah.
And I managed to successfully uh, sweep the crabs out of the bedroom and he was able to lay down and have a nap. So I think arguing and disagreeing is one tip I would give. Don't ask direct questions. With Alzheimer's and dementia, you have to always just imply, today is the day that you have to do this, or today is the day that we do this. Don't ask them if they want something to eat. Don't ask them if they want something to drink. Just imply that they need it.
Yeah. Fair. That's good advice, and I'm sure that that's helped navigate several tough situations that could have been more frustrating for everybody involved.
For sure.
And that's great advice. And so, good job, Candace, with the great advice. We love when you do that. We love getting good advice for our listeners and viewers. Um, on that note, we're gonna get a little bit more fun, right? Because now we've shared some good advice. I want you to share a couple cool stories. I know you've told me tons of stories. Just so everyone knows, Candace is very good with not sharing client names, as you could tell when she just says a client or person she's cared for. But what are some of the things that you've learned over the years taking care of people in Muskoka, especially in Huntsville? And like you've mentioned before, some of them were even around when there was horse and buggies on Main Street. So what are some of those
Yes.
things?
This generation that were born in the early 1900s, 1922, 24, whatever. There's probably 100 uses for vinegar that I've learned. There's probably a half a dozen uses for Vicks Vapor Rub that I have learned. There are tips and tricks that I have learned to keep the deer off your gardens, how to garden, how to ferment and can food before there was refrigeration. Um, these pioneers that I've helped care for, the stories of them building, hunt camps out in the bush before mosquito coils and before citronella, before all of these things that have made our lives a lot easier. Their lives were not so easy, but they learned to adapt.
Yeah.
I feel like I could definitely, I jokingly say when the zombie apocalypse comes, I will be able to feed our family. I'm pretty sure I could do that for sure. The foraging, um, yeah, vinegar uses, Vicks uses,
Yeah.
uh, all kinds of different uses for regular household items, that's for sure.
That's awesome. And I know we've talked about too a bit about those times where back then they had to like pay the doctor to come to deliver a baby and stuff, right?
Yes, there before Canadian Universal Healthcare came into play, the VON nurse usually made the first round of visits, and then when things got serious, then the stories are told to me that VON nurses would reach out to the doctors, and then the doctors came and helped deliver the babies, but there was a bill you had to pay to have your babies.
That imagine that like that we're so spoiled now.
So spoiled.
That's a, I think you know what's cool about all those stories that you've learned, and I know you've mentioned this before, is it helps you appreciate everything that we have now. Like it helps us
Absolutely.
appreciate, today's society. But the one cool thing that we're going back to in our house, and I want to mention this, and it's something you've learned from a lot of the people you've cared for, is the fermented foods, the gut health, all that good stuff that we've done in our house for the past like almost year now. We've been really getting back on that kind of almost pioneer kick in those regards.
Hmm.
And because, like you've mentioned to me, that's why they're living till 100 and in pretty
Hmm.
good health, still in their gardens at 100 years old.
Hmm. I think some of the lessons that I've taken away from this PSW career is, if you don't move it, you lose it.
Yeah.
I have literally helped facilitate 80 and 90-year-old women, helping them still plant garlic, helping them plant seeds. They like to get out, they like to be busy, bending, moving, stretching, eating to the seasons, I think is really important.
Yeah.
Um, that generation that were born in the early 1900s, right? There wasn't all this processed food the way that there is nowadays. Um, so taking it back to the basics of eating 3 square meals a day, healthy snacks, keep as many fruits and vegetables on your plate as you can. I thought at some point I was going to learn how to can fruits and vegetables, but I got on this fermented food movement, and it's a lot easier than canning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Everything that I've ever, learned or any advice that I help share has always just been from what I've learned experience wise.
Yeah.
And I do think the fermented food movement is hopefully making a comeback. And,
Agreed on.
if it just gives us a few extra years so that we can enjoy our kids a little more, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No, it's awesome. That's awesome. Now, one last note, and this is the funny thing about was one of the funny stories about your job. I remember you came home one time and it was with a book about how to be a good housewife or stuff. What was that book called? That is the funniest book ever.
Oh, I wish you would have told me. I would have got it out. It was a book published by the Toronto Star, and
That's
I
right.
believe the date on it was like 1922 or something like that. And it was a thick hardcover book. And it was literally a book on how to be a good housewife, a book on how to be a good wife,
Yeah.
a good mother, a general good person
Yes.
with chapters about, when your husband comes home from work to make sure the cocktail
Is ready
is
for him.
ready, the children are fed, and there is a proper meal on the table. I don't agree with everything that that book
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
says, but some of the basic rules of life,
In terms
how
of
to be
kindness and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, how to be considerate, how to be kind. Um, maybe one day our kids will have to know the difference between a salad fork and a dinner fork,
Yeah.
or there's on how to iron. A lot of the things that the book talked about was, just how to manage a house or how to
Yes.
manage a home, and, simple tasks of, how to separate laundry or how to
Yeah.
iron. I know a lot of people don't iron. But they could revise that book to be a little bit more modern.
Yes.
Who knows? Maybe that'll be something we do one day together.
Yeah, we could maybe do that. But you know what? You're right. Like, because I flipped through the book, and there's so many just good things that men or women and just human beings in general
Yes.
could could use. Like you
It
said,
was
with
a table. If there was like, how to make a proper table setting, or,
yes,
if you come home with a fresh piece of fish, how to debone it, like how to scale it. There's
life
there's all
skills.
kinds of, like, the book was seriously thick. It probably had, 20 to 30 different chapters on how to just I think manage your life and whatever different situations you might be thrown into, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, I just brought it up because it's really funny that, and I knew you were going to bring up the part about have the cocktail ready, and that's why I brought it up because it's just a really funny part of that book.
it is
Now, I think our time is done,
for sure.
and we've had a great show, and you've been so eloquent and wonderful and sharing your knowledge and some information with us. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Now, if anyone wants to get a hold of Candace because they maybe need some PSW services or they have someone with dementia care that needs some looking after, you can reach out through me and I will happily pass along her information and pass along your information to her. And we'll also put up some stuff when we post online on the blog. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you to this beautiful lady for
Thank you,
joining
everyone,
us.
for listening to the show. We appreciate you joining us on 88.7 FM The Bay, or if you were listening online on MuskokanLimited.com, ChrisOShow.com, or any of our other channels that we have. We really appreciate you visiting and listening and spending some time with us and taking time out of your day to spend with us. Before I go, again, I need to give a big shout out to our August sponsor for the blog, and that is Friends of Muskoka Watershed, not for profit, science based organization who's been doing some incredible work in the community, whether it's the Ash Muskoka Project, where they take clean residential wood ash to help provide nutrients to forests, especially in maple trees, and bring those sugar maples back to life, rejuvenating their calcium and other essential nutrients, whether they're studying the effects of road salts on our lakes, testing our lakes, trying to figure out how we can have a healthy environment. They are doing a ton of great work. There are citizen scientists involved. There's volunteers involved. They need donations. They're a not-for-profit charity, and check it out. So it's www.fotmw.org. That's fotmw.org. Good, great people. So check them out, and so have a great day, everyone. Thanks for listening. Ciao for now.